All right, first of all, let's get started as usual and let's clear the scene here. Okay, I don't need the lights. And one thing I want to do is I want to start bringing in some assets here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to bring in some reference photos that I took of the light. And one is just for us to look at. That'll be the perspective, but we don't need to look at it right now. So right now I'm in front ortho view. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to go down to image and I'm going to bring in reference. And what I want to do is I want to bring in the front view of this guy here. Give me 1 second because I got a lot of stuff in here. And let me find it. Here we go. All right, so it's going to be the front view is going to be this one here. Okay, so of course I need to scale it down. And I need to get the image as centered as I can get it. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to crank down the opacity like so. And I want to make sure that I can see it on the front for depth. I'm also going to go here at the let's do the bottom view. So we're going to hit Control or Command 7. And I want to do the same thing. I want to bring in another image, another reference image, and I want to bring in this guy here. Because the top part we know is going to be pretty much flat. That's the part that hooks to the ceiling. And I'm going to just kind of tool with it and get it kind of centered up here. And I want to do the same thing. I just want to bring down the opacity. It doesn't matter if it's the same level of opacity as the other. It really doesn't matter. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out. All I'm trying to do is line these guys up so when we start modeling it, they're roughly about the same size. Let's see here. And some of this is going to be eyeballing. Okay. And then I want to bring this guy here back up because I really don't need it down at the tip. So let's go 3. Let's bring it up about right here. And then let's look at it. Yeah, that's good enough, about right there. So I just want to make sure this lines up pretty good. Here's 7, top view. And front view. Top, front, top, front. Okay. So this guy here is front. I'm renaming it. And this one's going to be ref.top. I'm going to select them both and I'm going to put them in their own collection called reference. Like so. And I'm just going to close them up. I'm not so much worried about locking the layer like I've done in other videos. I think at this point in time with you guys kind of know, about locking layers and that kind of thing. If you don't, go back and look at my video on creating the ceiling fan. Not the ceiling fan, but the can't remember which one. It might have been the ramekin one. The one I did the ramekins is one of the more recent videos I've done. You'll see that I bring in reference images and I lock the image so you don't accidentally click and drag it and that kind of thing. Typically when I'm working on work, I don't even lock it because I used to be real bad at accidentally dragging it, but I'm a lot more careful about it now. So I usually don't even do it anymore, but I just did it for you guys just to kind of help show you what that was like. So now that we have our reference images in here, let's go ahead and start trying to game plan how we want to model this out. All right, so now to tackle the game plan here. So the game plan is this. If I were to look at this light in the physical world, go turn on my annotation here. This light is comprised of 3 different sections here. So one is this piece here, this metal piece that goes around. I don't know if you want to call it a base plate or what. The second piece that this is comprised of, or at least on the outside, is this glass dome. So that's a piece to think about. And then the third physical piece is this little end cap here. And the way this thing works is there's the fixture. So like here's the ceiling. I'm just going to draw it straight across. There's the ceiling. And from the ceiling, this thing is mounted up in the ceiling. There's like this little pole. You can't really see it, but it's like a little pole that comes down here in the middle. Like that. And it's got like a little screw piece on it. Like that. And actually, let me draw it all the way down. Goes all the way down about right here. And then it's got the fixture here for 2 light bulbs. So 2 light bulbs are sitting in there. And that's what it refracts off of this glass dome, and it diffuses the light out. So these guys are hanging out in there. And then there's the dome, but it's one physical piece here, second physical piece. And what this piece is a screw cap. It's decorative, but what it's really meant to do is it fits onto this screw here, and I know it's off center the way I drew it, but basically it tightens, the screw piece here tightens down into there. It doesn't tighten down much, but it basically holds it. This piece here, number 3, holds number 2 to number 1. Otherwise, number 2 would fall to the ground and break. So it's very simple. I'm not going to go super detailed with this in terms of the little screw piece. I mean, I could if you guys want me to. You know what? Yeah, we're gonna make screw piece 2. And then I'll make the piece here for the light bulbs. They go in there as well. And I'll even throw a light bulb in there. I may not model a light bulb. I may just get a model of a light bulb just to save time, but I'll model it out. We'll model most of this out. And I think for this one, the way you see these pieces here, you actually kind of can see it through the lamp, like right in there like that. So I'll have to take one of the lights off here, or the covers off here, in a minute and get a good look at it to see how it looks, and then we'll go ahead and model it out. So let's go ahead and attack these 3 pieces first, and then as part of piece number 1, what I want to do is I want to model out this rim here on the outside, and then inside of that is this stuff. It looks like foil almost, and it's meant to help with heat so the lights don't overheat and catch anything on fire, but also it helps push the light down so all the light doesn't bounce back up at the ceiling. It pushes the light, or reflects it back down to the glass here. We're going to build that in there, and we're going to start with that, and then this pole piece with the screw on it. And then from there, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to build this dome here, this guy here. And then once we've done that, I'm going to have a little hole there in the glass and have it measured so that this pole here goes down between that little hole in the glass. So it's like it'll look something like this here. Excuse my drawing. Actually, I'm not too bad at drawing. Anyway, but there's that glass dome here, and then like that little hole, that pole's gonna come down between that glass here, and it's gonna have threads on it. And then once we have that, we'll have number 3 that comes in down here, and we'll screw up to this guy. And that is the game plan. So let's go ahead and get started with attacking number 1 here first. All right, so the first thing I want to do here, let's come in here and let's make a circle, primitive, and let's go 64 verts, and let's go ahead and size it down to about the relative width or diameter of that outer rim there. And what I want to do is I want to position it on the z-axis to where I think the top of it is in reference to where it touches the ceiling. And keep in mind with our photo, it's not an orthographic view, it's perspective view. So it's going to take a little bit of eyeballing and a little bit of guesstimation to get it right. Because I just, without jumping through a ton of hoops, I got the best photo I could get, even though I knew it wasn't going to be exactly straight. And also my camera has a bit of lens distortion. I'm using an iPhone, and it uses lens, got some lens distortion that was having an effect with it, but that doesn't prohibit anything, right? So just saying, for those of you who haven't done this a lot, just kind of keep those things in mind. It's not going to be absolutely perfect, but you can kind of get it close, right? All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm coming here and I'm kind of mimicking this shape. All right, so let me move it up so I can see it a little bit better. I want to move everything up, little bit higher. I'm not really tracing this. I'm just kind of looking at like almost like just a reference photo, because it's really hard to trace it because it's not straight. So right now I'm building these steps here where you can see it bevel and hard bevel. But I got to be careful so I don't get too small with it, because we got to keep in mind that dome that we're building, right? So I'm gonna go about right here. Okay. So basically, thus far, that's the plate in terms of the shape of it. Now, like I was saying before, another thing that we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to build in some of the details. So I'm going to go to edge select mode, and I want to kind of close this off here. I'm gonna put a grid fill on it. Okay. So that looks good. This is the part that touches the ceiling right here. Let me hide reference right quick so we can see it. So this is the part that touches the ceiling. It's gonna be flat, and then I'm gonna come here and gonna kind of fill some of this in. Okay. For now, I'm just going to make it flat, and then we can edge it out. You know what? Let me try something here. I want to scale this out because I want it to kind of bevel backwards like that. Okay. And I'm gonna grid fill this too. Okay. So now I need to think about, let me go to vertex mode. Let me look at it at the bottom. What we need to do is we need to think about where we're going to pull this pole down from. So I've got an idea. Let's grab these 4 faces here. Let's inset them like so. I'm going to use my trusty loop tools like I've used in pretty much every video. Create a circle. I'm going to scale it down just a hair. And then what I want to do is come back here in perspective mode. And I'm gonna scale it down quite a bit more, actually, because that pole is not going to be really large. It's not gonna have a large diameter. Now I want to bring it down. For now, I just want to bring it all the way down about right here. I'm gonna go way longer than I need to, and that's okay, because what we can do is we can go back in there and scale it later. I just want it there as reference. And let's call this model dot rim. I don't know if rim's a good name for it or not, but that's what we're going to go with. I'm going to put it in a new collection. We're going to call it model.light and hit create. And now model.rim is in model.light. And just so I can personally eyeball it quicker, I'm going to give it a little bit of color so I know it from my reference. Okay. So far, this is where we are. And what we're going to do next is we're going to come in here and we're going to build in the 2 little pieces that basically allow us to have light bulbs in here. And they're going to be kind of at an angle here and here. So let's figure out what we want to do with that real quick. Okay, so a little update on this. The good news is there's only 1 bulb in there, not 2, like I thought originally. So what I want to do here to get this started, because I know roughly about where that bulb was, is about right here. We're gonna cursor to select it. I want to put the cursor right on top of that face, and basically the way this thing looks is it's a cylinder that's kind of skewed on an angle. So let's do this. Let's drop a cylinder in here. Of course, we got to scale it sucker way down. I could have also used another circle, but for the sake of this, I just wanted to use a cylinder. We pull it down, see how long a cylinder we have. That's about right. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. I want to look at it on front ortho, because what I want to do is I want to rotate it about like that. I don't really quite want it to even be 90 degrees. I want it to be a little off because it's not that straight when you look at it. And let's bring it down a hair. Hold down shift so it's a little bit more gradual. And let's see, bring it down a little bit more because that vertex is cutting up into the base plate. About like that, I think is pretty good. And I'm gonna get it off the pole here. Like so. So something about like that. And what I want to do here is I want to come in here and I want to select this face. And I'm gonna inset just a little bit. And then I'm gonna delete the face. Like so. Okay, so this gives us a start at least. And then I want to rotate this thing on the Z-axis. Because I want my light bulb to kind of come out. I want to be about like that. I want my light bulb to kind of stick out this way. Okay. All right, so that's good. That gives us the right kind of shape. So while we're in here, let me go ahead because I'm going to be done with this pretty quick. This piece of it anyway. Okay, that looks good. And just to make sure we're good to go on edge flow and edges, I'm gonna do a little small bevel here. Oop, not big bevel, small bevel. I'm gonna segment 2 segments. Let's change the outer miter to arc. And let's come back because I thought I had this selected too, but I guess I did not. Yep, I did. Why isn't this selected? Okay. Let's do the same in the back. And if you want to be OCD about it, just do a couple of insets. We're going to delete the face. We want to select this edge here. We can grid fill it. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, something like that. All right, just so we have good topology all the way through. And let me do something here while we're in here because I'm always having to change this. A clip start. Okay. What that does is that keeps me from having, like, if I get real close to an object, I can still see the object and it doesn't like clip the view or cut off the view and then you start seeing on the inside of it prematurely. I can get real close to it because sometimes when you're working in here like this, I want to be able to see inside the thing, like zoom in right up on it and get real close. I'm not going to do any modeling inside of this thing. So like, I'm not going to put the threads in here where the light bulb screws in. I mean, I've got a way of doing that. I've got a plug in it just with, I think it's Machine Tools. Let me see. I'm just curious so I can show it to you. Yeah, so it's Machine Tools. So it says add thread. So I can select a lot of these faces. I can add a thread in there like really easy. That's usually what I do. There's a couple of ways I actually manually vanilla blender to create threads, but I'll show you with something else on here, maybe down here at this pole. If I show you anywhere, it's probably where it would be, but keep in mind, it's not me being lazy here. Keep in mind, this is a model that's going to have a dome over it, and then it's going to have a piece that's physically covering up where the thread would be on the real object. You'll never see it. But if it's there, then the computer's having to calculate geometry for it. I mean, the computer's having to, it's going to add to the model size and everything. So you don't really need it, right? However, the reason why I'm putting this piece in here is because that glass dome is going to have some transparency. It's going to look like frosted glass. And in the right lighting conditions, you'll be able to see the shape of this and a bulb in here. And it's just going to add to the realism. So that's why I'm adding this piece here. But since you're not going to get a clear view of it, it doesn't have to be extremely detailed. If that makes sense. And what I want to do is when I model stuff, I don't want to model stuff I don't need to model because that's just going to, like I said, add to the geometry. It's going to add to the file size and it's taking more memory of your computer to have to hold all of that detail and that information in RAM. And that's why if you look at all my videos, you'll see I always keep the statistics on right here. So you can see how big everything's getting for like everything we select. So like right here, you'll see the statistics for this object versus this object and so on and so forth. Also, if you look at the bottom right of my screen, what I tend to do is I keep two pieces of information in here. So like, let's say if you watch this video 2 or 3 years from now, one, you'll see what version of Blender I'm running. So that's the 4.3.1 that's down here in the bottom right corner, 4.3.1 version of Blender. And you also see my memory consumption for this scene. And this machine I happen to be on today has 32 gigs of RAM on it. So it's not hammering me a whole lot. This gives me enough bandwidth and memory allocation for doing displacements and, you know, having a lot more geometry in the scene. But I still try to be very conservative with my geometry. I don't want to make stuff I don't need to make. So that's why I just wanted to make that point. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a light bulb in here, and we're going to basically be done with this part here. I can go ahead and run I really don't even need to run a subdivision modifier. Let's try something here. Let's do shade auto smooth. Yeah, I think this is going to be good enough. It doesn't need to be high poly because, like I said, the glass dome we're going to make here is going to obscure a lot of that, and it's not going to be an issue. Okay, real quick, I'm bouncing around a little bit, so let me do something while I'm thinking about it. What I want to do is I want to put a loop cut right here. I want to create a bevel right here because this is where I'm going to start the glass. And I'm going to make this a 1 segment bevel with a shape of 1. And I want to also, while I'm in here, and keep it very slight, even though some may argue, but watch this video, that I didn't need to do this, and you're probably right, but I'm gonna bevel it in a little bit or extrude it in just a hair, kind of like almost like a cutout. And then I'm gonna go ahead while I'm in here, I'm gonna move the 3D cursor here. So as you see the 3D cursor, it didn't look like it moved a whole lot, but it moved in the center of diameter of this, because this is where I'm gonna start building out our dome. Okay. So while I'm in here, before I forget, let me rename this. I'm going to call it model.bulb housing. Like I said, I'm just arbitrarily picking names. And what we're going to eventually do once I get the bulb in here is we're going to parent this and the bulb to the rim here. So, yeah, let's do that. And I'm thinking what I'm doing right now, I'm thinking about if I should actually make the little foil piece in here, or if I even need it, because I can't really think. Even if we put we illuminate the bulb inside the housing, I don't know if you're even going to see it, because even with the real light, you never see it. It's kind of like hidden up. The only time you see it is when you take the glass off. Let's say if you want to change out the light bulb, that's about the only time I've seen it, because even standing at the ground looking up at the bulb, I don't even notice it. Whether the light is on or not, you don't really see it. So I don't know how important it is. So I'm just gonna make the decision. I'm gonna omit it, because like I said, if I don't need it and it doesn't drastically change anything, then I'm just gonna stay away from it. Also, I could have even made a curve here and created a wire, but nobody's gonna see it, and there's really no need. So we're going to omit the wire as well. All right. So now we're going to put the bulb in, and we're going to wrap this part up, and then we're going to move on to the glass. So let's do it. Okay. Now we're going to come in here and tackle this dome or the glass, and think about like the easiest way to get this done in the least amount of time. I want to look at my mesh primitives, and the one that's coming to mind for me is UV sphere, which is this big guy right here. Let's do 64 segments. And let's go to edit mode, and I really want to start sizing this thing down to about, say, something like that. And I'm gonna hit / because I want to isolate it, look at it from the front. We don't need this top portion. So I'm gonna make sure X-ray mode is turned on, and I want to go here and I want to select everything from the center of it to the top, and I'm gonna hit X and delete vertices, and then that should cut it. If I go back in object mode, so that cuts it into this nice little dome here. And then what I want to do is hit / again. We're gonna go back and we want to like take a look at all of this. Let's go to X-ray mode. Let's kind of look at it from the hit the wrong button, hit camera view, not front ortho. I want to kind of look at it from the front, and if you look, it almost dropped it directly on our line here where our 3D cursor is. I think this might be right, guys. I'm just kind of eyeballing in here. Let me turn X-ray off, and I'm gonna look. You know what? I can scale out a little bit. See this gap? You see like a little gap right in here? I don't want that there. So let's scale this out just a hair, like so. Yeah. And see how this pole is cutting into the geometry, but it comes down here almost perfect. This is where we're gonna make this circle. Actually, while I'm at it, and we're in here, let's go to edge select mode. I'm gonna put a loop cut if I can. Oh, that's a big Ingon. So let's do this. Let's go to face select. There's a way of getting around this problem. And I'm gonna select all that stuff in there. I'm gonna hit X and faces. Let's just leave a big hole here for the time being. And then we'll come back and deal with it here in a minute. Okay, I think this is good. I think our dome is good. I don't see any geometry cutting anywhere. I just want to make sure it isn't. So one of the things I want to do, because this glass is not like razor thin or anything, is I want to come in here and I want to create some thickness. So I'm going to select it. Let me put it on in panel. Okay, scale is at 1. We haven't rotated it, so I don't need to worry about that. Let's come in here. Now that we've got the sphere selected, and I want to come in here with a modifier, and I'll create a solidify modifier. And as you can see, by default, it added way too much thickness. So I'm gonna hold down the shift, and I'm gonna crank this back quite a bit. Because keep in mind, when we add materials to this glass, I don't want it too thick. Actually, I think that still might be too thick. Let's do 0. I'm gonna play with some numbers here, guys, and see. Yeah, let's do negative 0.0004 meters. And I think that's a good little sweet spot there. Okay. And now, because I do not want to apply that yet, I'm gonna go to edge select mode. I want to go in here and let's deal with this hole. All right. So the hole doesn't need to be this big. So I don't want to scale it. I want to extrude in size like we've done so many more times. Let's go front ortho, and then what I want to do is I want to scale it down just so we have a little bit more of an angle to keep this shape. But I want this shape to kind of taper down to us a little bit more flat, because it's going to need to run flush to the cap that we put on it. And then I can do E and S. Doesn't need to be perfect. I want to give that pole a little bit of breathing room in there. Go back to front ortho, and then I'm gonna hit G and Z, and then I'm gonna bring it down just to keep the contour of the shape. And bam, I think there's our hole. So that's pretty good there. All right, gonna save the file. Let's leave the solidify modifier as a modifier we can adjust later. And before we're done, we'll probably apply it, so it'll just be real geometry in there. But for now, let's go back to sphere and let's rename this model dot glass, and it should automatically be in the model light reference collection, or excuse me, in the collection. And now we see our pole here is just way too long. So now I can come back here to the rim, and I can go to face selection mode. And what I want to do is I want to select these 4 faces down here at the bottom. This is real easy, guys. Since they're selected, I hit G and Z. And I can bring it up to about right. Let's see if we bring it about right here. Okay. And if we wanted to, we can hit X. I mean, excuse me, hit forward slash. And I said we could make this poll smaller, but I really don't need to. So let's deal with these threads. I'm going to show you how I typically do this because it's just so cool and so quick. So I'm going to come here and create a loop cut about right in here. Right. Let me go back here and I'm going to bevel it out. About like, because I want my threads to go to about right here. Boom. So right, I got a one segment, shape of one, arc, miter, outer, and then I right click, go to machine tools, and then add thread. And if you see, there's a new little box that pops up right here, and it will literally add threads for you. Let's see, 4 threads, that's fine. And I want them to be a little bit more aggressive here, like so. When you run sub D on this, it's going to look really good. So if you wanted threads on it, that's usually the way I do it. It's just quick. The other way of doing it is that you essentially have to make a shape. You can use a curve. I've even done this where you basically use a curve and you make the shape of the thread coming out like this. So in other words, I really kind of don't want to burn the video showing you how to do the thread. But you kind of come out here with a curve, or you can use a single pixel or vertices, I should say, and do the same thing. And then you give it a little bit of depth, so it's geometry in there. And then you can run the spin modifier on it, and then you offset it, and you essentially are making this. But then with that method, you got to go back in here and clean all of this up and add geometry and faces and make sure it's flat. It's a lot more work. Machine tools just saves you so much time. And like I said, if you're doing this for a living, time is money, and it's awesome to be like such the Blender expert that you can make all of this stuff with vanilla Blender and all that. But I'm telling you guys, a lot of stuff you have to do in Blender from scratch is so time consuming. Like you're losing money if you're trying to do this for a living. So I am one of the people, and I know there's a lot of people have different opinions on it. I think it's important to learn how to do vanilla stuff. That's how I first started learning Blenders. I did everything vanilla because I refused to buy any plugins. But at this point, you know, if I'm dealing with, let's say, 5 companies and I've got like a few weeks to bang out a lot of models or an animation or something, if I can find a plugin that does a lot of the work that kind of helps me get there quick, all day long, I'm going to do that because, like I said, time is money. So anyway, I just wanted to show you if you want to add threads, you could. But nobody's going to see it, so we don't need it. So if you're following along with this tutorial and you don't have machine tools, or you don't have any interest in getting machine tools, it's okay. For this particular model in this exercise, you literally do not need it at all. So all good. So one thing I want to do is I want to come back in here. I want to select those bottom 4 faces again, and I'm going to move my 3D cursor to those guys. Right? And then that's going to be the starting point where we come in here and we put like the little cap, little end cap on it. And notice I've had the reference off for a lot of this, but the reference is going to be going back on here in a second. Oh, you know what? Something else I just noticed, guys. I don't know where this came from. This must have been me screwing around or something in here. Hold on. Let me do something here. Give me a second, guys. Let's see if I can figure out where this. Let me see if I can figure out where this came from. Okay, let me just go ahead and delete these faces. I really don't know how I did this. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I know how to fix it. So you guys get to see everything, all the bloopers and the whole nine. So like I told you in my first video, like I'm not perfect at Blender, but we'll learn together, right? I really don't know where this came from. I'll go back and look at this video after I record it, and then I'll probably see exactly what I did. But at the time of recording this, I literally don't know what I did to make that. I assume it was some extrusion or something I had done. It's got me wanting to check my normals again now, which I'll do here in a second. Let me see if I can delete all this stuff here. All right. Okay, so I think we're good now. Let me look at this part by itself. Make sure it doesn't look funky. You know what? It probably happened when I went to go extrude this piece here in, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, doesn't matter now. We got it fixed. Okay. So let's look at normals. I want to make sure my normals aren't jacked up. No, everything's blue. Everything's good. Okay, so maybe, I don't know. Doesn't matter. Okay. So far we've got the dome, we've got the base here, and we've got like the little pole. We got to still put the light bulb in there. So what I'm going to do it for now is I'm going to hide the glass layer. We're going to come back here. We're going to put the light bulb in here. And actually I need to move the 3D cursor one more time. So let's select this edge around here and let's move the 3D cursor up here. And you know what? I got a better idea. Let's do, yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. Because I know how, I think I know what I want to do. This is fine. So what I want to do is I want to create another mesh primitive that's going to get us closer to what we're after. So let's go in here and let's add in another UV sphere. Like so. We're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to scale it down. The only thing I'm going to do a little bit differently here is I'm going to rotate it, because I want this little bottom part right here to be set up so we can manipulate it. So let's see if I can go. Okay, I think 1 might be the best place to do this. Let me also hide the rim, so I'll just see the housing and the bulb here. So I'm going to rotate it like so. Let me look at it from the top because it's at angle, and I'm gonna rotate it on Z. And what I'm doing is I'm lining those vertices up, or that edge up, with what I think is pretty straight here. And what I want to do is I want to also hide the housing now. So I just want to see the UV sphere. We know this is the back of it. And what I want to do is I want to start coming here and selecting these faces. So I'm gonna select these faces, and I'm gonna hold down Shift, and I'm gonna select these faces as well. And I'm gonna hit X and delete faces. This is gonna give us an opening here. I'm gonna go to edge select mode. I'm gonna select this edge here. And what I wanna do, let me turn the housing back on. But let's go to X-ray mode up here. And I wanna extrude this. You know what? I got room to keep going. Let's do this. Let's keep going. Let's turn X-ray mode off. And let's hide the housing again. I want to go all the way up here. So let's select all of these faces here. You'll see what I'm gonna do here in a second. May not make much sense of what I'm trying to do right now, but it will here in a second. But we got a little bit of room to play. So let's use it to make hopefully a little bit better light bulb. This is going to be a low poly light bulb because we do not need a high poly light bulb, because like I said, the glass is going to be on the model and you're not going to see the detail of the light bulb. Okay, we don't want that. Let's double check, make sure we don't have anything selected we don't need. So let's delete these guys as well. Yeah, there we go. So let's go to edge select. Let's select this face here. Let's turn our housing back on, and let's go back to X-ray. We're just gonna cap this off here, because you're not gonna see it. And here we've got a bulb. So I'm gonna call this model bulb. And I want to parent this to this. Boom, boom. And let's do this. Let's do auto smooth. And this guy, I think we already did auto smooth. So now we've got a bulb. and we also have the housing for it. I'm going to turn the rim back on where we see it. So see, there's your light bulb up in there. Okay. And then here is the glass over that. So now only thing left to do is this end cap down here, which I'll go ahead and select these 4 again. And I'm gonna move the cursor down here, there. And what I want to do is, I think the way I want to handle this is to do a circle. Okay, 64. Let's change the radius. I'll scale it way down, but I don't want to scale it too far down. All right, and then I'm going to come here because I want to look at the bottom of this. I should scale this up a little bit, because what I want to do is I want it to be almost flush with this little ring right here. Didn't have to be flat, but I want to get it kind of close. So I want to start it like about right here. So let's go to front ortho. Yeah, about something about like that. I'll bring it down just a hair. What, almost touching it, but not quite. And then from here, what we can do is we can turn reference back on, even though that's like totally off. And what we can do is we can start trying to model this by seeing that. So let me move this up a little bit. Oop. Hold on. I don't have this locked, do I? Let's see, front. That's funny, I had these labeled backwards. Sorry about that. All right. So you know what? On my lamp, this is a little bit bigger than it looks like. All right. All right. So let's see. Circle here. See how close we are. We ain't that far off. It's a little offset, but we're not that far off from what we had. This is why I'm very confident in many cases that my reference files, I rely on them a lot, but I don't completely rely on them for, like, if I don't have a really good reference file, if that makes sense. I've gotten fairly good at eyeballing it, but you know, I'm still a big proponent of using reference. I mean, that's the way you know it's right. All right, so let's see here. Okay, now this goes in just a hair here, and then it's got a hard extrusion that comes out here. And then we want to go here again, like that, and then we want to taper it in. And then we come in here, and then we come back down here, and then we want to taper it in here. Something about like that. Let me look at the, give me a sec here. Oop, that don't work. All right. And then this comes down to a point, which is a cylinder essentially. And then what I plan on doing is we're gonna round this off, and then we're gonna cap it with a UV sphere on the top. I think that's how I want to do it. Okay. Yeah. So I don't need to go too far down. I go about right here. I'm gonna drop in a loop cut here. I'll bevel it, segment of 1, like so. 1, and then what I want to do here is I want to extrude along the normals, because I want it to cut in like so. I like that. And then I want to come back down here, and then I want to top this off with, turn reference off here. I don't really need reference anymore. I want to top this off with that UV sphere. So stand by. I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, it'll move cursor to selected. And then what I want to do is I want to bring in the UV sphere again. I think it flipped on me, so I just want to make sure it's good. Let's look at reference one more time. So UV sphere doesn't need to be anywhere near that big, but it's not small. Just get it scaled up, sized up. It needs to be a little bit bigger. I want him to I think about right here. Because that's where I'm going to cut it, about right here. Okay. So let's do X-ray mode. We're gonna cut it about right here. So what I want to do is I'm gonna grab all these verts on each side, here to here, delete them, and let's go to object mode. Let's line it up. Like that. Okay, we're going to turn reference off. Yep, we're good. All right, so I'm going to select this guy and I'm going to select the sphere at the end and I'm going to go edit the both of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you know what? Let me select them both. And let's do... Actually, before you know what? Yeah, let's do that. Let's take these two guys and hit Command J to join them. Which that did not work. Because you gotta go into object mode and try it again. There we go. So this would be... Yeah. Okay, we're good. So now I'm gonna go to vertex mode here. And I can select these vertices here and do a fill. Okay, I've got all these filled, and as you can see, this is what we got right here. Just filled in edge right here. So now the tip here is all one piece. We started modeling this out from a circle, and then we added a UV sphere to it, and then basically glued the two pieces together into one. So now what I want to do is I want to come in here and name this. I'm going to call it model dot. What have I been calling that thing? I don't know. I'm just gonna come up with a name. Tip, and I want to move it. I want to move it inside of the collection here. Model.light, and then save the file. So let's go back out and look at this in front ortho, and so far see what we have. We pretty much have the light modeled out. Let me move the cursor out of the way. We pretty much have this light done in terms of modeling. So now what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to start cleaning up some of the geo and putting in bevels where we need them and that kind of thing, and increases and that sort of stuff. And then start running sub D where we want it. And that'll be the next phase of this. And then once we're done with that, then we'll do our materials. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our cleanup work. So what I want to do, just so I can see everything, is I want to isolate each piece and start adding in loop cups where needed, bevels where needed, that kind of thing. So let's select some edges here, and we're just gonna do some bulk bevels. Yeah. I like this. I'm just grabbing all these little edges right here, and I'm just gonna bevel them, give them the same bevel treatment here. Okay, and that's gonna be pretty good there. Give them 2 segments. And let's do 0.5 instead of 1, because they don't need to be that sharp. I want them to have a little bit of roundness. This one right here, for now, I'm going to leave it alone. Once I apply a sub D, I want to see what it looks like. And because I want it to be a little bit more of a seamless transition. Because if you look at the real light, it's not, you don't see this hard edge here. So let's go in here on the inside and let's tweak this guy here. And then these guys here, where we made that cut. You know what? These can actually be a crease. Just make this a crease. So basically, go to mean crease, turn that to 1, and then that makes that a nice little hard crease, sharp crease there. And let's see, do I need to do anything here? I don't want this to be a big blob, so let's select the edge around this guy here, and let's put a nice little bevel here. About like that. And what's nice about Machine Tools is you can see the little lines here. It automatically puts in creases where it needs to be to retain that shape. So that's one thing that's really cool about just using the plugin. I mean, you don't have to do all this extra work. So let's go ahead and put a level 2 sub D on this. And let's see what this looks like. And I'm going to hit shade smooth. And let me hide the end panel. Yeah. See? That looks pretty good. And then look at your little stuff here. Look at your edges here. Those look pretty good. I will say this. Let's tighten up these edges here just a hair. Don't need much. I'm actually going to use a crease on it. And you'll see how it's affecting the bevel here. And another thing I want to do is I want to select these guys. I want to inset them in a little bit. I'm gonna come way in because I wanted that edge to be rounded a little bit. Something about like that. I don't want it real sharp, but I wanted a little bit more definition on it. And as you can see, let's look up here. Yep, that looks pretty good. Where we added that bevel, the inside bevels look pretty good. I can deal with it. Okay. And we are looking at everything still in like shader mode or modeling mode. I do not have cycles turned on at all yet on this particular file, but we will do that here when we get done. One thing I want to do is I want to go down here now and turn on the tip. So let's pull everybody back. And I want to see the tip by itself, and I just want to focus on the tip here. So let's do a couple things here. Number one, we need to add some thickness to this thing. So let's go in here, let's go to generate, solidify, and that looks absolutely crazy. So let's back it off quite a bit. So I'm using 0.001 meters. I think that's quite nice thickness here. And because I want to keep this still, I don't want to apply it yet because I'm going to do some loop cuts, and I want them to also loop cut the inside. I want to do one cut here. As you see, it did it on the inside. I want to do 2 to 3 cuts here. I think 3 is going to be a good little winner. One cut here. One cut here. That's about it. I think, well, maybe one cut here. Let's do one cut here. Let me look up here. Let's do one cut here just to be sure. And I think this is good. So now let's apply it. So now this is going to give me geode that I can select edges on here and here and bevel them kind of at the same time, like so. 2 segments, 0.5 arc. We're good. Let's grab this guy in here. Doesn't really matter, but you know, because you're not going to see it, but right here. Same here. Actually, let's do this one, this one, this one, this one. You're not going to see any of this, but I really don't want there to be a blob of stuff on the inside, because in the event something goes wrong and it shoots outside the model, I don't want to see any weirdness happening there. Actually, let's grab this one, this one, this one. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second here. Just little light bevels here. And actually, let me put one here. Okay. Yeah. So that looks pretty good. I like that. Okay. Now to do the outside. So this edge, you look at it pretty closely, see what we got. So I want this edge, this edge, this edge, this one, and this one. Let's just bevel these at the same time. About like that. Let's look at this guy here. I'm okay with that being a little bit smoother transition. This guy right here, I want there to be a fairly hard transition. So I'm gonna change this back to 1. And same with here and here, this transition here, I want these to be 1 as well. Yep. But the rest of it, maybe I put a little bit here. I want a little bit of a bevel here. But come back. There we go. But I don't want it to be a hard bevel, and I don't want it to be a 1. I'll go back to 0.5. And I just want to see what it looks like. All right, so now that we've done this one, let's go to level 2 sub D, and let's do shade smooth and see what we got. Yeah, it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? I can live with it. All right, so let's turn this whole model back on where we can see it. So now we have the rim and we've got the tip. Now we just got to do the glass. And keep in mind, I'm gonna hit H for hide. Keep in mind that we've already just done shades auto smoothing on the light bulb piece in here. That's all we needed. And now let's handle the glass. So since this was a mesh primitive, we don't need to do a whole lot. All I want to do is I'm gonna do a level 3 on this. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's do a level 3 on this, and then let's do shade smooth. I want to come back up here. I want to do a level 3 on this one as well, and a level 3 on this one as well, just so the subdivision matches up. And that is the model. However, we're getting ready to move into the second phase of this. Now I'm gonna purge some stuff in here I don't need. Save my file. So we're getting ready to move into the next phase now, which will be like adding material. So take a break, go get you something like a snack or something to drink real quick, and we're going to come right back and do materials, and then we're going to render, and then we're going to wrap it up. All right, see you guys soon. Okay, now let's go in and let's start trying to tackle our materials. So first thing I want to do is go in here and select my rim, and I want to switch over to look dev mode. Give it a second here, as it takes a little bit to fire it up for the first time. All right, there we go. So as you can see, everything looks the same. Now I'm going to go into the materials panel, and I'm going to create a new material for this rim. I want to call it material.gold. It doesn't have to be gold because the real thing looks more like pewter. And I'll screw around with some colors here. But as you can see, everything's going to be uniformed, which pretty much is the way it looks in the real world. I'm gonna go back in here and I'm going to tweak on this color a little bit more. All right, I'm just kind of screwing with it, trying to get it look more pewter. And I will say that it doesn't look the same in Look Dev as it will in Cycles. And the main reason why is because the HDRI I have by default selected in Look Dev has a redder hue to it, but you'll see we're gonna screw with that here in a second. let's look at it in cycles. All right, so see, it looks a little bit different here. Cycles is right now going to give me the most realistic color. And let me show you. So if I go here and if I can click in here and change my HDRI by default. I also have a setting where it says scene world. If it's unchecked, if I check that, it'll use the HDRI that's connected into the scene. So this kind of gives you like just something to be aware of to know the difference between Eevee and look dev mode for materials. A lot of times I do my work in Eevee, in cycles. All right, so now that I've got the color roughly where I want it, let's start screwing around with the roughness. I want to bring it down, but I don't want to bring it down too much because this material is not super shiny. Then I'm going to go and select the little piece on the bottom, the tip. And I will say this, there's a couple ways you could do this. Number one, you could go in and copy the material from the little chevron button, or you can hit Control L and link materials by selecting the two together. You can do that where it says link materials. That's another way of doing it. But just for the sake of the video and how, I typically do it, I'll show you the third way, which is given that we have the material.gold already made, we can go in and just select it from the little drop down menu and apply it to the second model. And if I change that material on either of those meshes, it'll update on the other one automatically. Okay, so now that's done. So let's go in here and let's do the light bulb and then do like the little light bulb housing. So I'm gonna create a new material for that one. I'm gonna call it bulb. If I can spell it properly, let me try that again. There we go, bulb. And what I want to do is I want this to look kind of like frosted, because light bulbs, well, the older light bulbs had that phosphor on the inside of them. These LED bulbs try to mimic that look. So I'm gonna get I want to give it like a yellow tinge to the bulb, but I don't want it to look yellow, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of screwing around with some values here, and then I'm gonna go down and I want to bump up the transmission because I want to be able to see through the bulb, but I don't want it to be fully transparent. I still want it to have like kind of almost that frosted look. So I'm bringing down the roughness, and right now I'm just kind of tweaking some values here. Let's get a better look at this bulb. And like I said, the bulb doesn't have to be perfect, because really all I want to do is to be able to see the shape of it. I want there to be a hint that, hey, there's something inside that glass. It adds to the realism. It needs to mimic, or at least it needs to look familiar to what the real light looks like. But the model itself of the bulb and the housing doesn't need to be perfect. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I'm just kind of screwing around in here with some values. And the housing here is pretty simple. It's not real shiny. I'm gonna make it like kind of an off gray or off white, like a really light gray. Not it doesn't need to be shiny. So we're gonna leave a lot of the roughness there, and it's pretty much done deal. I have seen some of these that are black and other colors, but with mine, I'm just gonna leave it a light color. Okay, so I'm giving it a name, and let's go pick a color here that's not perfectly white, just a little off-white. And let's go ahead and make some changes to the roughness. Not many, just crank it down just a hair. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. You're not gonna see it through the bulb, but it doesn't need to be shiny. Okay, and another thing I think I want to do while I'm in here is add an emission node to this bulb. So we can go ahead and just turn the bulb on. So I've got the bulb selected. I'm going to drag up my timeline and then change it from timeline to shader editor, which will actually give us the nodes. And then what I want to do is I want to bring an emission node in here, and I want to group it with the existing principal node here. So I have to bring in a mix shader node. I'm going to connect it to the output, and then on the second part of that node, I'm going to bring in the emission shader. And I just want to kind of screw around with the amount of intensity here. So let's go up to 4. See what that looks like. You can see the reflection of the illuminated light up in the housing up there, or in the rim, I should say. And let's see. scroll that back down. I may crank that up if it doesn't seem like it's enough light later on, but for now, you guys get the point. We just basically turn the light on. And even if you want to, like if animation was a thing you were doing here, you could animate the keyframes and turn it on, turn it off, or fade it up, fade it off, that kind of thing. So now let's go ahead and tackle the glass. So I'm creating a new shader for the glass, and I want the glass to be white, but I want this glass to be, I want it to have quite a bit of transmission, but I don't want it to be completely see-through, and I definitely don't want it to be too shiny because the real glass is not really shiny. There's a little bit of reflection on it. I wouldn't say it's more like specular reflection, but it's definitely a lower reflection, but it's got a coating in it, and I think that coating's meant to diffuse the light. So I'm going to screw around with these settings. Just bear with me. I'm going to screw around with these settings until I can get it as close as what it really looks like. Because see, I want you to be able to see the light bulb. You can kind of see the light bulb in there, that it's glowing. But when I drop the roughness, you can see it a whole lot better. But it should not, it shouldn't be that smooth. So I need to bump the roughness back up just a little bit. And then I'm gonna tweak the IOR, the index of refraction, to see if that can make a difference. If we can just find a nice little balance of those three properties there. I'm even going to throw a coat on the outside of it just to give it a little bit of specularity there, without going into the specular setting and changing it there. So I turn the transmission all the way up. Now I'm gonna dial it back because I feel like I'm getting close, but it's still not quite there. I'm just being slightly OCD, not real bad, but I just want to get it as close to what it really looks like. So if we crank the index of refraction all the way down, it's completely transparent. So I'm gonna slowly crank it up to get it as close as possible as close as possible as well. And then you'll see I stop screwing with this here in a minute. All right. So that looks close. It's getting closer for sure. You can see the light bulb in there. You can see a little bit of the pole. You can't really see the housing, but that's kind of the way it looks. We know it's in there, but you can't really see it. Had I made it black or something, you probably would have noticed, but it may not have made the light bulb itself look as well. It might have been a bit distracting. So I'm kind of going here. I'm going to crank up the emission because I want that light to glow and kind of fill the inside of that glass a little bit. So I'm just playing with some settings here. So crank it up to 25, see what that looks like. I think that might be okay. Yeah, we'll just leave it. Save my file. Okay. Yeah, it's filling it. It's filling inside of that pretty good. I want to come back here and like tweak this color a little bit more because it's too saturated. It needs to look more pewter. Pewter's like a silver with like a tinge of red and a tinge of yellow in it. It's like a really, really fainted silver gold kind of color. Best way I can describe it. And I just want to get it to where it's a little bit more accurate. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think I nailed it. Get that color for you guys. It is B8B3A7FF if you want to copy those settings. That is exactly what that color looks like. Okay, I'm gonna save again because you guys know I love to save my work. All right, and I am am going to apply the solidify modifier on the glass because I'm happy with it and we're done and won't be changing it. And let me just go back to these others and check and see if we got any solidify modifiers that need to be applied. Nope. And nope. So we're good there. So now we have modeled it. We have put materials on it. And let's save it. And the last thing left to do is just like compose a camera shot and then render it. So let's kind of figure out what we want to do in terms of a shot. I'm just going to pick something that looks off the cuff, looks kind of nice. So I'm gonna hit Command Option and 0 on the numpad. If you're on a PC, it's Control Option 0. And notice that it didn't fill my camera, so I want this image to be square. So I'm choosing 1920 by 1920, and then I'm going to go back into the camera properties. I'm going to set this about 80 or 85 millimeter, which is more like what you'd use for a portrait. And then I'm going to hold down GG and then the middle mouse button, and I'm going to drag away, and it's going to basically zoom out. I'm just going to try to get a fairly decent composition going here. And I'm all about using the guides. So if you go to viewport display and you click on it, and then if you look down at composition guides, I'm going to turn on center so I can see where the center of my camera is. And then I'm going to update my Passepartout setting. I usually like it around 97% or 0.97. I just find it a little bit less distracting when you got a lot of stuff in the scene to kind of like visually clip in what you're going to have in your render. I'm also going to hold down Shift and adjust the Shift X of the camera, kind of like just dial it in and kind of help center it up. Okay, that looks good. And let's render. And I'm just going to let this run so you guys can see how long this render takes on this machine I'm on. And one of the things I'll say is I'm on a Mac. I'm on a MacBook Pro with a M1 Max, 32 gigs of RAM. Excellent machine for Blender. It does not beat my PC. However, my PC is not very mobile. And my PC's got a lot of GPU power in it, but my Mac for a laptop mobile machine is excellent. Can't recommend it enough, and no, I'm not getting paid by Apple to say that. I just really believe that. That's not to say that these machines are without any kind of issue. However, one thing that's good about it is the battery life. I can go about, as long as I'm not doing a bunch of rendering in cycles. If I'm doing Eevee render, it doesn't even hurt it. But if I'm doing cycles rendering, a lot of ray tracing and light bounces and things like that, I can probably get 4 hours out of it, maybe, unless I'm doing a really big scene where it's just constantly in a rendering mode. You hear the fans, but the thing doesn't get hot. However, if I'm not doing a lot of renders and I'm mainly modeling or rigging or something like that, easily 12 hours out of this machine. Easy 12 hours. I've done it many, many times. So highly recommend it if you travel a lot and you're doing Blender on the go. And I'm not knocking on the mobile PC machines, but the problem with them with the big GPUs in them is once you go battery, the machine throttles down the GPU and or the CPU. With the Mac, you don't notice the difference. It's just as fast on battery as it is on power. So highly recommend it. If you guys have one, I would suggest using it. If you don't have one and have the means to get one, definitely get one. I mean, I hate that they're so expensive, but like it solved my mobile issues. All right, so enough about the machine. Just kind of trying to help fill some time while this thing is rendering, so you guys can see how this renders like in real time on this particular machine. This is not really a complicated model either, but there's a lot of light bouncing going on inside of that glass dome there from that emission from that light. That's what's taking it so long. So we're almost there. I'm only doing 512 samples, which is usually all I do for most of my modeling. Sometimes if I'm just trying to render something very fast, I'll lower the samples maybe like 100. But for the most part, I'll leave it around 512 and it's pretty good. Just so you know. All right. Nice work, guys. Yet again, we have successfully modeled something. We created materials. We set up the camera for composition, and we successfully rendered this ceiling light. And we did it all from eyeballing a reference photo. So excellent job, guys. You've done it again. You guys are becoming really good at modeling. So if there's anything you've missed, please feel free to go back, look at it again. If you have questions about something, feel free to leave them in the comments or go back and look at some of the videos, because these videos are going a little bit slower, but I am really trying to enforce and help you with some muscle memory on like kind of like patterns of solving these problems around looking at a thing, figuring out a game plan around modeling it, using reference to model it, using the same types of techniques to model. So like sizing or scaling, insets, extrusions, that kind of thing, bevels, how sub D works and how you can control sub D, things about topology. All of those things are in all my videos. So, and I'm doing that on purpose because I'm trying to establish a foundation for the new people here who are new to Blender, who are trying to learn it. So, great job. Like I said, if you like this content, please give me a like, and even better yet, give me a subscribe, and there'll be more stuff coming. I've got about 4 more videos in the hopper, so working on them when I get extra time to work on them. So those will be coming out soon. In the meantime, I'm glad you enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys take care. Happy blendering.